A beautiful morning to all our amazing viewers, and thank you for joining us on this morning's AM Cafe. My name is Adeleke Amoro, and I'm not in the studio alone. I am here with a very important and special guest this morning, and today we're going to be talking about the manners, the effects, the complications, the treatment perhaps, and the myth surrounding sickle cell anemia that people popularly call SS. And today I have Miss Modupe Shijuade. She is the convener for Modupe Sickle Cell Advocacy Initiative. And one very interesting thing about her is she's a mom of two, a 45-year-old sickle cell warrior. Good morning, and thank you for joining me in the studio this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
All right, thank you very much. Now we're going to be asking, what exactly is sickle cell disease?
Okay, sickle cell is a genetic disorder that is inherited from both parents. It occurs when two parents, a mother and a father, come together with their genotypes that are incompatible. They have AS gene, and they get married. So there's every possible chance that child has a 25% chance of being a sickle cell child when the AS and AS genotype get together in marriage.
So is there no way the AS and the AS can actually marry and they can escape having an SS child?
We don't usually counsel that because of the part of where we are from, in Africa. We don't encourage that an AS genotype couple should marry one another, because for every pregnancy that they have a 25% chance of having sickle cell, as that the child coming out as a sickle cell child. Now the thing is, it's possible that if they have 4 pregnancies, it's possible that those 4 children can be sickle cell. It's also possible that none of them can be sickle cell, because it's 25% chance. But then we don't encourage it, because Africa or Nigeria today has the highest burden of sickle cell in sub-Saharan Africa. So we don't encourage people. But then there are recent innovations where you can check the genotype of a child before the child is born. And if that child turns out to be SS, when they check the genotype of this child and they realize that it's SS, so it becomes at the child's discretion or the parent's discretion to know whether they want to continue with the pregnancy to have the baby, or they want to take out the baby. But when you eventually take out the baby, that's brutal. How many pregnancies do you want to? How many more pregnancies do you want to have? To diagnose that this child is sickle cell, and then you want to go on.
And you keep taking them out.
Yes, and you keep taking them out. So that's actually not.
Talking about this, you do not advise the AS couple to marry. There are people who believe that our love can carry it, and there's people that believe that faith can carry. Yes, we all believe that what God cannot do does not exist. But even at the same time too, how do we balance those people? My love can carry it. I will go fasting and pray, and God will change the genotype. We will not give birth to SS children. So what do you want to say about this?
Okay, love is never enough, actually. Love is good. I appreciate love. I love love. But then it's never enough on this journey. Why? Because that same love, by the time the stress and the trauma of having a sickle cell child and the troubles you have in raising that child starts or begins, that particular love, Umawa, drained, as in before you know it. I've seen parents who eventually part ways, reasons being that the stress of having that child or raising the child.
Probably financial burden. Is there financial implications to all of this?
Financial implications, and it's an all through life thing. I'm 45 years. I know what it is to my health and the burden of my feet. It's me that is taking care of myself now. Do you get? And my finances alone, I have to do calculative to take care of my health. It's honestly very difficult. Growing up, I didn't feel it financially. Maybe the pains, the stress of going out and going to the hospital and coming back, and all of that, the toll on my health is crazy. But then even now, added to it, I'm an adult. The financial burden is also huge. So imagine it's a whole lifelong
experience,
thing or experience, exactly. So it's actually better that you don't even start it than saying love will carry us through, we will not shake any. At the end of the day, the love, people usually fall apart. Exactly.
All right, thank you very much. Now, what are the common symptoms that a patient will have, and then you will probably be able to, you know that, okay, well, I'm a sickle cell patient, or what are the symptoms associated to sickle cell?
Okay, first and foremost, when a child is born,
Okay.
maybe like immediately you might not know, but then they begin to exhibit one or two features, especially in early life. And maybe the child is always cranky, the child always cries from experience of pain, knowing fully well that they cannot talk, and the thing is, it is usually medically diagnosed.
Okay.
So it must be known, it's usually diagnosed medically, but before then the child experiences lots of cries, pains, always falling ill, fever, and all of that.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we are now going to be asking now. Okay, you made mention of something like that. There are people who probably escaped it, probably at birth or later. Can't it be known immediately a child is being born? Or are there people who probably have to wait 1 year, 2 years, the child is fine, 3 years, the child is fine, 4 years, and then boom, 5th year, or boom, 10th year, and then the child starts falling sick?
Well, it depends on the individual, actually, or should I say the gene of the child. Reason being that for me, my own diagnosis came early. I was, I think, about less than 2 years before my diagnosis came that I'm sickle cell. But then we find people who have grown into adulthood, who are doing well. They are well, in fact they do well up until maybe later in life before the diagnosis comes, depending on the genetic or the gene of that particular child.
All right, thank you very much. So how important is genetic counseling for intending couples? No, there are people who skip counseling. They would rather prefer to go to how will I put it, they do church counseling and they do private counseling. I know when you go for church or you want to do church wedding, they will tell you bring your medical results, and then probably from that medical results they will be able to counsel you. But I don't know much about private counseling. If they would also ask you to bring all those things, but perhaps there's a situation like this, like an AS patient, how do you want to counsel them, and what is the best genotype for an SS patient to go on a marital journey with?
Okay, I'll take it from the genetic counseling. There are quite a number of genetic counselors out there, and in fact we're encouraging people to go for genetic counseling to get proper counseling as per their genotype compatibility before marriage. That's because we're trying to see that this burden of sickle cell, especially in Nigeria, is reduced to the barest minimum. Exactly, because it is huge out there. And there's this statistics I saw recently that out of every 4 Nigerians, there are about 3 AS genotype. And so the thing is, if we continue at this rate without genetic counseling, we don't know what will happen in the nearest future. What quality of children do we want to raise? Exactly. So it's very important that genetic counseling takes place. Secondly, you talked about, what was that second question?
Yeah, the proper genotype for an SS patient.
Okay, yes, we talked about genotype compatibility. For every AS, it's always important that you marry AA. AA is the best compatible genotype for any AS person. And also for SS too. If you are a sickle cell warrior and you also intend to get married, it is very important that you get married to the AS genotype so that you don't continue to produce your type.
Okay. All right. I asked them like the common symptoms that are associated with sickle cell patients. Probably headache, or once you start giving headache signs, or maybe body pain or leg pain. They call something crisis in sickle cell patients.
Okay. We have very major crisis triggers that I'll just talk about.
Okay. Extreme
temperatures, whether the weather is too cold and it's too hot, it leads to serious crisis for the patient. And what do they experience? Pains regularly, frequent pains. Malaria could be also a trigger.
Okay.
And any kind of infection could be triggers. And stress of any kind. Stress is relative depending on the individual actually, but of any kind. It could be that you are studying. Sometimes studying, reading hard could bring out sometimes house chores, working within the house could be stressful for that sickle cell person, exactly, and to trigger crisis. Sometimes emotional crisis could be emotional stress, stressing the emotion or weighing you out emotionally could trigger a crisis for a sickle cell warrior. And what they experience is pains basically, but you see those pains is as a result of lack of oxygen in your blood. I'm not a medical person, but lack of oxygen in your blood supply into your streams, yes, in your blood streams, and then it causes so many complications as you grow. Complications setting if the patients are not well managed. Complications like organ failure or organ damage. There's something they call AVN, avascular necrosis of either the femoral head or any joints around your body. There are also acute chest syndrome could also be a kind of complication. There are many things that could lead to complication, especially when you have frequent crises and they are not well managed growing up. Exactly.
All right.
Dehydration too, staying without taking water also is a core trigger, crisis trigger for the sickle cell warrior.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. So what treatment options are available for managing those pain and complications?
Okay, first and foremost, my counsel to every sickle cell warrior is that you should always drink water. Get yourself dehydrated. Water is not too much. There's no amount of water, it's not too much for that, especially as you are growing.
Okay.
Then you have regular drugs, routine drugs that you are meant to take for prevention of malaria, to help boost your blood, your PCV, packed cell volume. Okay. Then there's also this recent hydroxyurea. Okay. It's a prophylactic treatment, but then it's a treatment for sickle cell warriors to take. It helps reduce the hemoglobin, the sickle hemoglobin in the bloodstream of that warrior. Okay. So it reduces the number of crises you have in a year. So that hydroxyurea is good. There's also something that is called bone marrow. It's very expensive. Bone marrow transplants.
Okay.
They can I think that's about a cure. Okay. But it's a very recent trend of treatment.
Is it more like a permanent cure?
Well, I would call it a permanent cure because it absolutely takes out the possibility of having a crisis again in life. So we can call it a permanent cure.
So it obviously doesn't change the genotype.
No, it doesn't change the genotype.
Okay.
It does not, yes. But then you are assured that for the rest of your life you don't have crisis, but it's not accessible in Nigeria. It's very expensive. So for now, that is still very
minimal. All right, thank you very much. Now, are there specialized hospitals that manage sickle cell warriors?
Okay, there are specialized doctors. I won't say hospitals.
Okay.
Most of the time you find them in, I don't know if they are not much. They are very uncommon in primary health centers.
Okay.
But we can go to a primary health center and you can actually be managed before being maybe transferred to a general hospital or a teaching hospital. But I can tell you that in every teaching hospital and general hospitals, you find a hematologist. They are doctors who manage the sickle cell warriors. They understand our body type, they understand who we are, and they manage us properly. So those are special doctors for the sickle cell. There are other doctors who manage the sickle cell warriors. That's when they have other complications.
Okay.
It's possible that they have AVN. They see orthopedic doctors for that. It's possible that probably they have it could be kidney damages. They see boya new. But all these special doctors exist.
All right, thank you very much. Now, for a sickle cell warrior, are there lifestyle changes that the person really has to abide by to live a normal life at least?
Exactly, there are.
Okay.
See, if you're a sickle cell warrior, I usually counsel people that you need to be more intentional about your health.
Okay.
That's when you can actually enjoy. Growing up, I didn't know all of this. But then when I started getting to understand my person, my health, knowing my body, how my body speaks to me. It made me more intentional. So caregivers have a lot to do for their sickle cell warrior child. They need to begin to educate their children at an early age as to how to manage themselves, not to fall into a crisis, how to constantly ensure that they are dehydrated, how to constantly ensure that they listen to their body. So as to whatever it is that you notice around your body, you need to visit the hospital. Then going to the hospital should not be a problem for you. In fact, you can go to the, it's possible that for the rest of the week, maybe if you start an appointment today, it's possible that you need to go to the hospital tomorrow, you need to go to the hospital on Wednesday, in as much as you don't get lazy about your medical routines or your hospital visits. It's also a part of lifestyle you need to adopt. You need to also be a friend to your medical doctors. You need to honestly be friends. Don't just see them as doctors, see them as your friends or as people who are a part of your lives, so that you feel free to discuss anything with them. Your medications too is a lifestyle that you need to love your drugs, love taking your drugs. Don't be tired about it. Water too is something you need to encourage yourself to learn to take. Then basically your diet is very important, that you know what triggers you.
Okay, so there are certain meals that triggers crisis in excess patients.
Yes, I think depending on the individual, there are certain meals. Maybe too high carbonated drinks, too high sugar, too high you get. So basically, I usually advise sickle cell warriors to take high protein diets. It's very, very good. Then vegetable meals, efforiro, all of those drugs that can help, food that can improve your blood health. It's very important.
All right, thank you very much. All right, now I think we're going to be going to caregivers. Now some caregivers might see this as a burden. Earlier in the program we talked about people who believe that my love can carry it, and perhaps they went ahead to to get married, and then they start recreating and procreating children and those stuff, and then along the line they got overwhelmed by the burden. Now, how do these people see that, number one, this child or this person I'm taking care of is my responsibility and it's not a burden, so that this said warrior doesn't feel depressed and down?
The role that caregivers give for the child and for themselves is usually very huge, and it's very important, especially in the life of their children. The moment you realize that we are now here, we already have a sickle cell child, it's very important that they begin to brace up for the life of that child that they have. And what will really help you basically is to, number one, get to understand the basics of that condition. Get to understand the basics. Then you also need to brace up not to be either a lazy mother or a lazy father, so that when it's time for hospital visits, you are not tired. You also need to brace yourself emotionally. Be ready to watch your child go through pains, and you are the one that, despite the fact that you are not feeling the pain, you will be the one to help that child through that emotional burden. I don't know if it's burden in market. Yes, you are the one that will help the child to heal and understand that child. So basically, when children are growing up, especially growing up as a child, if I look back, my mom took extra time to help me understand my health. But then I was like, this woman's wahala is too much. I can't play like other children. I cannot eat what other children eat. I cannot clinic. But then she still made me understand that once I'm able to understand or get to know what my health demands, and I can live it well, I'll be able to live above all of these things. And honestly, it has really helped me a lot. So what am I saying in essence? Parents, caregivers of sickle cell warriors or sickle cell child, that sickle cell child needs to brace up to that responsibility of ensuring or seeing to it that their child wins in whatever condition they find themselves.
All right, thank you very much. Now, before we go to the government's contributions to this, now there are myths surrounding sickle cell. Or perhaps before we even go to the myths, let's quickly talk about what the government is doing and what the community is doing in general, more especially the government, because I rather prefer we talk about the myths in Yoruba, and we're going to be talking about what the government are doing to reduce the burden of sickle cell disease.
Okay.
Are there free drugs? Are the drugs free? Are the visitations, hospital visits, are they reduced? At the percentage now, there are sometimes that maybe you'll be asked to pay 10% of your drugs or free visitation and all those stuff.
For now, there's no I won't say the consideration for the sickle cell child.
Okay.
Except if you're probably under the OA scheme or the
Okay.
NHIS.
Okay.
Then you can enjoy probably 10%, free medication under all of those schemes. But even now, the experience, from my own experience, we will call on government to please, help us see to it that most of our medications are in supplies at these clinics, the NHIS clinics, the
Okay.
OAS clinics. If some of our medications are actually made available in stock, because there's no time you go to a hospital, either the general hospital or the teaching hospital, that you will not find a sickle cell child there on admission. So if our drugs are probably in stock, because that's the only right now that we're enjoying. But recently, on Monday, on the 25th of November,
Okay.
there was this bill that we had the public. I was also privileged to be a part of that hearing in Abuja.
Okay.
There's this Senator Katum who is working on a sickle cell bill
Okay.
to ensure that they establish sickle cell centers in the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, where studies and research and care can be given to that sickle cell child within your region or your geopolitical zone, and then one in Abuja. And it's actually a quite robust bill that was discussed. To me, at that place, it didn't sound like we're talking about policy bills. We're talking about the life of that sickle cell child, the day-to-day experiences and that's a very huge milestone. That senator is touching the life of that small population in Nigeria that has really never been considered. To me, so the man is honestly doing he's doing something huge for the sickle cell community. And I would also like to encourage governors of every state to see to it that the sickle cell warrior in their states enjoys something. Policymakers in this state, for instance, Osun, this is an opportunity to call on our policymakers. Sickle cell warriors to one state. We need, the burden of sickle cell is huge on every caregiver, on every sickle cell child, on the sickle cell child who is 2, on that child who is just growing into a teenage year, on the young adults. It is honestly a very huge burden. And even adults like me, who are already in my middle age, taking care of myself is huge. So if our policymakers can honestly consider this part of their population and see to it that we are able to get some support as much as possible, either by creating health centers that are focused on basically just sickle cell, yes, and then see to it also that our medications, especially the hydroxyurea, that patient, and other medications that we take is reduced to the something that is affordable. Considering this economy, it will go a long way, honestly, to our population, to us. That's my take.
All right, thank you very much. If you're just joining us, this is AM Cafe, and all along we've been discussing about sickle cell and the complications, the treatments, if there are permanent cure, and ways to manage the crisis. So now we're going to be talking about the myth. I think in Yoruba, sickle cell is called Arun Foluku for let me put it that way, right? Because it's believed that the child keeps fainting, keeps rising, and all those stuff. Now there are myths, and I actually want to say this in Yoruba because what happened Yoruba gun, the way we look down on people with sickle cell. I won't say use the word look down, right? But there's a way we separate them, or we make them, yes, we stick. Thank you very much. Now there's a myth that says that almost sickle cell worry jare 25 kò lè kú mọ́. That is one. Two, there's a people that will tell you, ẹ o bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe máa manage ẹ lọ for life ní àdúrà ní kẹ́ máa gbà kí ṣáà máa fọlọ́ ẹ máa fọlọ́hún tí pé kò ní kú. So what do you have to say about this myth? Is it true like people who 25 and above they cannot die again? 25 and above they will still die after 25, and those are there people who they are 60, 70, before God called them to the side, but they lived a managed life with the sickle cell disease.
Okay, I'll start from the area of stigmatization, especially in ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Mo sorry gan, Yorùbá mi ò sweet tó yẹn, but ma code mix Yorùbá and English. The thing is that mo ti rí sickle cell child, even in ilẹ̀ wa tá wà yìí, tí ìyá ẹ̀ sọ pé tó bá máa kú kókó, and ọmọ yẹn kọ́ ló ṣe ra ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀. Especially the fact pé òun kọ́ ló decide láti jẹ́ sickle cell is a decision of the both parents. So but stigmatization yẹn ó pọ̀. Even growing up, mo rántí àwọn èèyàn má fọwọ́ kàn, má má súnmọ́, kó má lọ kú. And there are quite a number of us have had that terrible experiences, especially in our yẹ kí a mọ̀ pé tá bá ṣe whatever you give, what you give is what you get, especially to your sickle cell child. Àwọn nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ ló máa ń jẹ́ kí àwọn stigmatization bẹ́ẹ̀ ló máa ń jẹ́ kí àwọn ọmọ yẹn growing up tó máa ń fall into depression, tó máa ń dàbẹ̀ ni pé wọ́n kọ̀ wà neglected to the corner, wọ́n máa ń wà depressed, they don't feel loved. That's because of the kind of society probably wọ́n ti bára wọn. But you see, mo fẹ́ encourage everybody lẹ́nu, if you have a sickle cell in your neighborhood, a sickle cell child, please show them love as much as possible. Understand that our call share our vibe. We find ourselves in this condition and we need help. We need love, to be able to live above all of this condition. That's one. Two, àwọn èèyàn máa ń believe pé àwọn sickle cell child àbíkú ni wọ́n máa ń tètè kú. Tẹ́ bá tọ́jú àwọn ọmọ yín, tẹ́ fún wọn ní the basic things tó yẹ kán ní or kán fi live. I tell you, majority of people who enjoy these things, love or attention from their parents, they survive. Majority. I know friends who are sickle cell warriors who are 60. There's this big auntie of mine who turned 50 recently. So what am I saying? When these children when they are shown love from the ìfẹ́ hàn wọ́n láti kékeré tá they pay attention to health wọ́n máa ń tend láti dàgbà, and then growing up they also learn to know and manage themselves. Exactly. So irú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ kò dáa, ká má máa rò pé wọ́n máa kú ní kékeré or wọ́n máa ẹ jẹ́ ká fìfẹ́ hàn wọ́n. Tí wọ́n bá dẹ̀ lọ early, glory be to God. Tí wọ́n bá dẹ̀ stay náà, glory be to God. Another thing is sickle cell is a lifelong condition. Mi ò tí rí anybody àwọn èèyàn máa ń sọ máa láwọn change genotype wọ́n change from SS to AA, mi ò tí rí but I know that it is a lifelong condition to need the love, to need the good management, to need good healthcare, so.
All right, thank you very much. There's also something like ọmọ tó ń sì kí ìtẹ̀pẹ̀ ní SS. Ṣé tẹ́ bá lọ́dọ̀ àwọn ọmọ eléwé ọmọ tó bá já ewé ilé tó já ẹ̀yìn ilé tó já ilé tó bá fi wẹ̀ fún kẹfún ara ọmọ aya, do you believe in herbal treatment?
Okay, let me start by saying, me as a person, I would not utterly rule out herbal treatments, but then I also do not want to totally encourage herbal treatment. Mo mọ̀ àwọn eléwé ọmọ, àwọn alágbo yẹn ó máa ní àwọn ewé kankan tó máa ń pòpọ̀ tó máa ń help láti, in fact in the bill tá discuss, one of the things submissions that we gave as a sickle cell representative ni wípé we need to explore this part of herbal medication. It needs to be explored. So mi ò ní fọwọ́ gbèsè ẹgbẹ́ kan, but also at the same time some of these medications ó máa ń ní, because we don't know the right dosage, ó máa ń ní effects especially on the liver and the kidney of that child. So tí a bá ti lè understand the dosage àwọn oògùn wọ̀nyí, I know that we will do well via herbal medication. But before then, mi ní fọwọ́ wé oògùn òyìnbó sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ kan. Do you get?
Yeah.
I would also say that because there's a better understanding in the English medication, the dosage is well understood. he hardly Shemo, I don't know how to
routine is,
yes, I don't know how to express myself, but I feel like the English medication for now is good. So but tabari àwọn alagbo yẹn, we need researches to be done for the right. Torí mo believe pé some of them won ṣiṣẹ́. It's not, in fact, taba ṣe in the right, taba explore, I'm sure we can get good results from them. So mi ò lè fọwọ́ wé àwọn ilé ìwé ọmọ sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ at all.
Thank you very much. Now there's also a belief that says ìgbà tí mo lóyún ọmọ yẹn wọ́n ní kí n má rìn lọ́sàn-án, bọ̀ ebi wọ́n pa mí mo lọ sọ́jà, ibẹ̀ lọ́lọ́ ti sọ mí láta, ibẹ̀ lọ ní ẹ pé bóyá mo ṣe àwọn ìyá mi kan wọ́n wá sọ mí láta ìgbà tí mo wá bí ọmọ wá di SS. How true is this?
Okay, when it comes to sickle cell, nǹkan tó máa ń bring about sickle cell ni wípé ìyá àti bàbá AS àti AS wọ́n bímọ tó jẹ́ SS. Nǹkan tó máa ń kọ̀ sí ẹ̀ nìyẹn wípé kò àtàwà àwọn tó máa ń sọ̀yàn látàwà, but when it comes to a child being sickle cell, kò sí nǹkan kan tó ń jẹ́ pé wọ́n sọ̀yàn látà ń bẹ̀. Health condition, yes, it's because ọwọ́ ayé is a basically genetic condition. Kì í ṣe pé ọwọ́ ayé wà ń bẹ̀. Táwọn ọmọ yẹn bá dẹ̀ ti jẹ́ tọ́n bá diagnose ọmọ as sickle cell, best thing ni pé kéèyàn manage àwọn ọmọ yẹn properly. Pé ọwọ́ ayé kan wà ń bẹ̀, èmi ò believe well. Kì í ṣe pé ọwọ́ ayé ò sí, don't get me wrong, ọwọ́ ayé wà. But then for the sickle cell child, tọ́n diagnose pé ẹni yìí jẹ́ sickle cell, medical condition ẹ̀ ló yẹ ká face, not ọwọ́ ayé. That's my opinion.
All right, thank you very much. Now for obìnrin tó ní sickle cell, ṣó lè lọ ilé ọkọ, ṣó dẹ̀ lè gbóyún to term? Because I've actually had experiences be like, ẹ̀ ń jẹ́ kọ́mọ yín ní SS yìí kó lọ ilé ọkọ, ta ló fẹ́ tọ́jú ẹ̀ ní ọkọ, ṣé wàá lọ jókòó tì ilé ọkọ ni?
Okay, èmi tí mo jókòó yìí, I'm a typical example. Okay. To the glory of God, you know, pé èèyàn lè gbé oyún to term. Ọlọ́run fún mi ṣe, mo gbé oyún méjì to term. To the glory of God, mo lè fọpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run. And I would like to say, pé èèyàn jẹ́ SS cannot stop you from being what you want to be in life. You can get married. There are quite a number of people who I know tó jẹ́ sickle cell tó marry tó dẹ̀ bímọ, àtọkùnrin o àtobìnrin o. So it's not about pé bóyá torí pé ẹni jẹ́ sickle cell abandon ẹ kò lè gbé oyún to term, kò lè gbé oyún to term àbí kò lè bímọ. Àwọn tó bá jẹ́ sickle cell wọ́n bímọ, wọ́n gbé ọmọ yè, wọ́n gbé ọmọ, wọ́n bí ọmọ, wọ́n dẹ̀ ń lọlé ọkọ, wọ́n dẹ̀ ń ṣoríire, wọ́n dẹ̀ ń ṣe nǹkan ayọ̀ fúnra wọn, you know.
Thank you very much. Yeah, something just dropped in my mind now. You know, this popular or this general belief pé ọmọ mi ti parí primary 5, boarding house ló wù mí kí n mú lọ. Ọmọ tó wá ní sickle cell ṣó ṣe é mú lọ boarding house?
Why not?
Okay.
But then ọmọ yẹn máa need extra care.
Okay.
Boarding house tó fẹ́ mú ẹ lọ, ṣé extra care ṣó wà available in place by the house master? Because if you go and tó bá lọ fi ọmọ ẹ sí boarding house tó jẹ́ wípé ọmọ bóyá bíi 500 ló wà ní boarding house, the house master ó ní ọmọ 500 láti watch over, can that house master ṣó lè take care of ọmọ ẹ particularly single out ọmọ ẹ and give your child that extra care that your child requires? If you know tó bá mọ̀ pé ọmọ ẹ ní oní school tọmọ ẹ lè lọ tí the house master àbí school yẹn wọ́n ní extra care wọ́n lè fún ọmọ ẹ, why not? The child can mix and manage. And then you also torí pé o fọmọ sí boarding house kò wá mí pé kò ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wá fọmọ sílẹ̀ kò abandon ẹ o. You can also make sure that you check on the child, but it's always best kí àwọn sickle cell children kán wà ní sàkání ìyá àti bàbá wọn, especially tó bá ń dàgbà, nítorí kán lè mọ ìtọ́jú ara wọn. Tó bá ti wá gbọ́n dáadáa kán lè tọ́jú ara wọn. Other than boarding house, ọmọ yẹn á lọ sí school, á lọ sí higher institution. Ìyá àti bàbá, mo lọ sí higher institution, ìyá àti bàbá mi ò tẹ̀lé mi débẹ̀ fúnra mi, you know. So and this is me now. So tọ́mọ yẹn bá ti mọ̀ láti mọ ìtọ́jú, tó bá wà kékeré, counsel mi ni wípé kán wà ní sàkání ibi tán ti lè rí ìtọ́jú tó péye, tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ pé àwọn náà wọ́n á lè mọ òye àbí knowledge láti tọ́jú ara wọn. Once they can do that, tó bá ti dé stage tán ti ní mọ̀ pé wọ́n ti understand health wọn, wọ́n lè kúrò nílé.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. It's a lot, yeah. All right, our time is far gone, and you know, just before we round up, I just wanted to give an advice to one sickle cell warrior out there, and two, the caregiver out there.
Okay, dear sickle cell warrior, I always tell you, I'm rooting for you. You can be anything you want to be. you can achieve whatever you want to be, and there is no stopping you. You are the only one that can stop yourself. If you choose to fly high, I tell you guys, you can fly high. Caregivers, àwọn ìyá wa àti bàbá wa nílé, mo fẹ́ admonish yín pé ẹ kú ìtọ́jú wa, ẹ ṣeun, ẹ kú làálàá kòókòó lórí àwa ọmọ yín. Mo gbàdúrà wípé gbogbo làálàá kòókòó yín ò ní já sásán, especially lórí ọmọ àti lórí wa. Then mo fẹ́ encourage yín náà, àánú Ọlọ́run ní gbogbo wa sílẹ̀. Ẹ ṣe kú tọ́jú, ẹ má give up lórí wa, ẹ fi ìfẹ́ hàn wá, ẹ kọ́ wa bá a ṣe lè tọ́jú ara wa better than right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I've been with Miss Modupe Shijuade,
Thank
you know, the convener of before Modupe Sickle Cell Advocacy Initiative, and the very special thing, like I said before, a 45-year-old sickle cell warrior, mom of 2. You know, she has been able to, you know, enlighten us. Don't stigmatize your sickle cell child. Yes, and I'm going to be saying to all the sickle cell warrior out there, you know, your pain does not diminish your worth. Just like she said, you know, you are valuable, you know, you're powerful, and then you are unstoppable. And to everyone out there, you know, you have a sickle cell warrior around you, please show them love. Do not stigmatize. You're saying no to stigmatization of sickle cell warriors. They are human beings just like that, except that they are with a different genetic setting.
Yes.
Yeah, so they are still humans just like that, and they need the love that we are going to be, you know, giving unto them. Oh, and today we're going to be ending the show. We hope next time, you know, we would will call upon you and you will surely answer.
Without pleasure.
All right.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
On behalf of all the crew and the producer of AM Cafe, we're saying thank you for joining us. To all the sickle cell warriors, we are also rooting for you, and to every other person out there, please do take care of your health. It is important this time. Take care of it. Like somebody will say in Yoruba, "Toju e ni e." This is actually very important. I am Adeleke, and I'm wishing you a very pleasant day ahead.